of Armour Street faces delays in receiving new houses. Myanmar's military rulers introduce punitive cyber bill. China bans the BBC World Service within its territory.
Now those stories in detail. Parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayake expressed his views in Parliament on media reports that have been published based on 2 Presidential Commission reports that have been submitted to the President.
Two Presidential Commission reports have been handed over to the President. Newspaper reports have indicated that I have been named as a respondent in a report. At the same time, the Cabinet has decided to set up a special Presidential Commission. Therefore, it is important to table the report of the Presidential Commission on political victimization in Parliament. The other report is of the Presidential Commission on the April 21st attacks. Around 200 individuals were killed and more than 500 were injured in the attacks. Some media institutions have carried excerpts of these reports. These reports identify the respondents. Therefore, the report that has been handed over to the President is being published in newspapers, but it is not being tabled in Parliament. Therefore, I informed the Leader of the House personally as well to table the report in Parliament. The report has not been submitted today as well. The report of the Presidential Commission is based on the issues in the country. Public funds have been spent on this. The people must know about the contents of the report. Therefore, I am requesting the Leader of the House and the Chief Government Whip to take steps to table the report in Parliament. If newspapers, media outlets, international media outlets or forces acting with an ulterior motive publish his name, then I don't want to comment on it. You are aware that certain individuals are conducting themselves in this manner. There are certain false media reports that gain publicity, but Anura Kumara Dissanayake is a senior politician. Therefore, he can face it. We have also faced it. Therefore, as the Leader of the House, I wish to state that the report will be tabled in Parliament.
A group of parliamentarians have formed a new faction within the government of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Views were expressed on the new group during a media briefing yesterday.
This group does not have a leader or a convener. Everyone is treated equally with the right to express their opinion. We don't have heroes among us. Our only objective is to fulfill our duties on behalf of the government and the people who elected us to the parliament. During the recent past, we have observed certain shortcomings in our faction. As young parliamentarians, we look up to the government, the ministers and senior lawmakers. We wish to remind that the expectations of 6.9 million people lie on the shoulders of the parliamentarians who have not uttered a single word that has caused inconveniences to the government. A responsible government is required. We understand that the responsibility of the 6.9 million people is to evaluate the activities of politicians, but at the same time, we cannot forget the entire 22 million people, including those who did not vote for us at the polls.
The Samagi Jana Balawege has expressed its views on a rift that has emerged within the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna over a statement made by Minister Vimal Weerawansa recently.
If we take a look at Minister Vimal Weerawansa's political career, we can observe that he has only defected camps in support of a certain individual while deceiving the public. Vimal Weerawansa is now whining before Gotabaya Rajapaksa. That might be because Vimal Weerawansa had defected to the Rajapaksa camp without understanding their nature. Otherwise, it might be because Vimal Weerawansa does not fit into the political conduct of Basil Rajapaksa.
Members of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna visited the Seruwavila and Thirukonamadu reserves yesterday. Today. This was following information regarding attempts to release 8,500 acres of land in these reserves for development purposes.
We came to inspect this area of special importance that is located between forest reserves and is on the list of reserves to be gazetted. The Mahaweli Authority has released 8,500 acres from these two reserves. These lands are given to the allies of politicians. The people should understand that this is an area of great importance. Tenders have also been called to grant this 8,500 acre of land to companies. According to what we have heard, there are 1,500 applications already. Now this has turned into a hunting ground. The president is taking part in programs to meet villagers. We invite him to Valikanda to converse with the elephants. If this situation isn't corrected, we will correct it ourselves.
Dr. Anil Jayanta expressed his views in the Mavata program telecasted last night regarding the environmental destructions and current economic crisis of the country. Mavata is a program that has gained a huge audience on social media during recent times.
The responsibility of the government is to follow a stable foreign policy and protect the heritage of the country. This was a government that came into power by promising to protect the country. This clearly shows that when we are involved in geopolitical tussles with the US and India, China is bringing us into their trap meticulously. This is why they offered our country a loan worth 1.5 billion. Discussions are underway concerning investing in plantation companies and 3 islands. We are not looking at the bigger picture. At the World Economic Forum, it was pointed out that we cannot move forward with this policy. The next target to consolidate power is nature.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka convened a media briefing this morning. Newsfirst Jama Ratnayaka reports.
A media briefing organized by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to apprise its citizens on the current economic status of Sri Lanka concluded a short while ago. The media briefing was held under the patronage of the Governor of the Central Bank, Professor W.D. Lakshman, and several other Assistant and Deputy Governors were also in attendance during the media briefing. Now, if I may apprise you of some of the key highlights from this media briefing, the Governor of the Central Bank, Professor W.D. Lakshman, said in 2021 they estimate the growth rate of the economy to be between 5.5% and 6% due to a number of reasons, including the government's decisions to go for limited closures instead of island-wide lockdowns, and also the commencement of the inoculation or the vaccination process. Moreover, stimulus measures given by the government to ease the burden on the economy. Moreover, the tourism sector picking up, and also IT-related activities to bring in more revenue is expected to bring in a positive of 5.5 to 6% growth rate to the economy as a result of all these measures. Moreover, the governor of the central bank, speaking to the media, said that the central bank estimates inflation to remain stable, and it is estimated in January 2021 to remain at 3% inflation rate. He also said that interest rates will remain at 5.5% prime rate according to their estimate, and moreover the import rationalization, the rationalization of imports or the restriction imposed on imports will continue until the balance of payments is equal and the balance of payments improves in the future. Talking about inflows, he said in 2020 Sri Lanka had achieved a decline in the current account deficit, and in one quarter of 2020 the current account had gone into a surplus for the first time since 1977. He also said that foreign direct investments are likely to grow as the economy progresses, and he also said that official reserves of the country currently stands at 4.8 billion US dollars. In terms of debt servicing, the debt servicing aspect, the governor of the central bank said negotiations are ongoing with overseas agencies, banks and governments alike to raise forex inflows. However, he did not mention about gaining the support of the IMF in his speech. That is all for now. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Jama Ratnayaka.
Thank you, Jamal, for the comprehensive update. Debt repayment and the economic situation of the country was featured at a media briefing convened by the Janata Vimukti Peramuna.
As a country, we are in a risky situation. The country's total income is insufficient to pay, let alone the loan installment and the interest. What is the total income of the year 2020? After imposing the taxes, the total income taken to the treasury was 1,500 billion rupees. The loan installment and the interest amounts up to 1,800 billion rupees. The situation in 2021 is even worse. Total income is 1,919 billion. Loan installment and the interest is 2,117 billion rupees. In general, even after paying all the income, another 600,000 million rupees is short to pay the loan, installment and the interest. This is what they have done after governing for 73 years. 900,000 million rupees needed to pay pension for the government servants. It has to be taken from loans. 40,000 million rupees needed for a concession on fertilizers has to be supported through loans. 40,000 million rupees to pay Samurdhi, again loans. 400,000 million rupees needed to support roads, again loans. Now the government does not have funds. Out of the total loans, foreign loans are 47%. In 2020, the due is $6,865 million. $1,517 million will be the interest. There are three main debt rating institutions. One is Fitch Ratings, Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Moody's is the biggest among them. It has around 27 ratings starting from A3 to C. If it is A3, you on top. If it is C, you are down and out. We are at the 18th position. We are just 3 away to get to the bottom. Sri Lanka is one of the 3 countries that has a risk in paying loans. They will not lend a single penny in the future. You know, India asked Sri Lanka to pay the loan of $400 million. There is no foreign income. Funds are not arriving from expatriates. Tourism sector has crashed. No investors. Now the option they have is to sell. If they sell within Sri Lanka, they get funds in rupees. However, you can't recover from rupees. As a result of that, they are selling their assets to foreign countries. That is the reason why they are trying to sell the port. We can't prevent it.
China has banned BBC World News from broadcasting its television and radio services in the country.
China has criticized the BBC for its reporting on coronavirus and the persecution of ethnic minority Uyghurs. It follows British media regulator Ofcom revoking state broadcaster China Global Television Network's license to broadcast in the United Kingdom. Ofcom's decision early this month came after it found that the CGTN's license was wrongfully held by Star China Media Limited. CGTN was also found in breach of British broadcasting regulations last year for airing an alleged forced confession of UK citizen Peter Humphrey. In its decision, China's State Film, TV and Radio Administration said BBC World News reports about China were found to seriously violate broadcast guidelines, including the requirement that news should be truthful and fair and not harm China's national interest. It said that the BBC's application to go on air for another year would not be accepted. The BBC said in a statement, quote, "We are disappointed that the Chinese authorities have decided to take this course of action. The BBC is the world's most trusted international news broadcaster and reports on stories from around the world fairly, impartially and without fear or favour," end quote. Commenting on the matter, Dominic Raab, Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, said in a tweet, quote, "China's decision to ban BBC World News in mainland China is an unacceptable curtailing of media freedom," end quote. He added that China has the most severe restrictions on media and internet freedom across the globe and that this later step will only damage China's reputation in the eyes of the world.
Another face of the opposition leaders' mobile service program was held in Borella yesterday.
The event was held at the Tilakarama temple in Borella under the patronage of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. Area residents informed the opposition leader of the issues that they are facing at present.
ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් තියෙනවා කියමනක් ticking time bomb කියලා. දැන් මේ time bomb එක
There is a term in English called a ticking time bomb. We never know when the ticking time bomb in the economy would explode. We do not know whether the communities will fall apart. The country has fallen into a severe economic crisis due to the mismanagement of the government. The country requires a people-centric government comprising professionals and skilled individuals. The Samagi Jana Balawege is prepared to provide that much-needed leadership.
ඒ ජනතාවාදී පොදු ජන පාලනය ලබා දෙන්නට සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ අපි ලෑස්තියි.
Around 5 years ago, several families in Colombo 12 were instructed to vacate their homes in exchange for new houses. But today, these residents are forced to take shelter in makeshift homes as a result of failed promise. The Paradise Housing Complex constructed at Armour Street in Colombo 12 consists of 64 housing units. The housing complex had been constructed after vacating area residents under the promise of providing new houses. But the houses have not been vested with the public, although 5 years have passed since the construction of the complex. As a result, the residents of this area have been forced to seek shelter at makeshift homes built out of wood.
These innocent residents have been forced to live in makeshift homes built out of wood for the last 8 years. Oil lamps are their only source of light. If these lamps topple over, their houses can be burnt and destroyed. For more than 80 years, these taxpayers and their families have lived in rented houses. Each family has about 7 or 8 members.
The Paradise Housing Complex that has not been vested with the people is now home to bats, spiders and termites. It is also a paradise for individuals who engage in illegal activities.
The residents used to engage in various forms of employment in this area at the time of commencing this project. It has been more than 5 years since construction activities have been completed, but the houses are yet to be provided to the people.
වාසීන්ට මේ නිවාස බෙදා දීමේ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා නැහැ.
ඒ අදපු මාල් නිවාස 64න්
We have learnt of moves to provide us 40 houses out of the 64 units and to distribute the rest among parliamentarian and municipal council members. There is a municipal council document showing that this proposal has been approved. Our only request is to provide these houses to the people of this area who were evacuated from their homes.
64 අපේ වත්තේ ඉන්න අහිංසක මිනිසුන්ට ලබා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ.
An event was held at the Sri Sambodhi temple under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to begin the collection of money for the Digawappiya Trust Fund.
The event had been organized by the Presidential Task Force for Archaeological Heritage Management in the Eastern Province. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, the Chief Prelates of the three sects and the Chief Prelate of the Sri Lanka Ramana Nikaya Most Venerable Makulave Vimala Thero were present at the event.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතාන්ත්‍රික සමාජවාදී ජනරජයේ අතිගරු ජනාධිපති ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමන්ගේ සම්ප්‍රාප්තිය ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමන්ද සමගින් තමන්ට හුරුබුරුදු මේ විහාර පරිශ්‍රය වෙත සම්ප්‍රාප්ත වෙනවා.
තියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
තියම්පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
ဒ ුතියම්පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
A sum of 100 million rupees was donated by the fund by Venerable Angulugamue Ariyadamma Thero. A sum of 10 million rupees was donated to the fund by Army Commander General Shavendra Silva.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force for Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication, Basil Rajapaksa, has requested authorities to set up a government entity to manufacture lithium-ion batteries using local graphite.
The potential use of local graphite to manufacture modern batteries were discovered during a research study carried out by the State Ministry of Skills Development, Vocational Education, Research and Innovation and also the National Institute of Fundamental Studies. The research found that local graphite has the potential to store large amounts of electricity by adding value to the natural resource. During a discussion of the Presidential Task Force, it was pointed out that producing batteries with a higher capacity compared to lithium-ion batteries will attract demand towards the product in the world market. Accordingly, a decision was made to set up a separate state entity by investing government funds as capital.
The United Nations will conduct a special session on the human rights implications on the crisis in Myanmar today. A resolution will be sponsored against Myanmar during the meeting that will begin at 2:30 p.m. Sri Lankan time.
Portugal will sponsor a resolution against Myanmar on behalf of the European Union, the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland during a special UN session today. The resolution containing 13 proposals will revolve around the human rights implications of the military coup in Myanmar recently that has sparked a wave of nationwide protests. According to the resolution, the Myanmar military has been urged to release ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint and others while lifting the state of emergency. The sponsors of the resolution have also called upon the military to refrain from any use of violence against peaceful protesters and to respect the right to peaceful assembly. Another proposal in the resolution is to permanently lift restrictions on the internet, including social media, to avoid any further violations of the right to freedom of opinion and expression. Portugal and the rest of the sponsors have requested the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Myanmar to seek an urgent visit to the country. The rapporteur has also been requested to provide an oral update on the situation in Myanmar during the 47th UN Human Rights Council sessions and a comprehensive report in the following session. On that note, the sponsors have requested the UN Secretary General and the UN Human Rights Chief to assist the Special Rapporteur in discharging the mandate completely.
Sri Lanka's tally of individuals who have died of COVID-19 rose to 379 after 4 deaths were confirmed yesterday. The Department of Government Information identified the deceased as an 83-year-old male from Colombo 5, a 70-year-old female from Kotahena, a 42-year-old female from Colombo 13 and a 64-year-old female from Udatalavinna. Meanwhile, 939 new COVID-19 infections were detected yesterday, raising the country's total tally of infections up to 73,116.
A decision has been made to close down all stores in the Alawa area in Kurunegala district following a detection of an individual who had been infected by COVID-19. Our correspondent reported that steps have been taken to conduct PCR tests among all traders in the area.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV Bond. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanesan. You have yourself a wonderful day.